Today is Thursday, May 23rd. What to know about the European countries pushing for a long-term solution in the Middle East and why the U.S. disagrees. Also, from birds to cows to humans, a second person now diagnosed with avian flu in America, what we know about its spread. Plus, how more Americans are getting their student loans canceled, which popular online retailer is opening an in-person store. And where's the best place to live in the U.S.? We'll tell you the city that just ranked number 1. Those stories and even more news next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Well, there are signs of Western nations growing impatient with the war in Gaza, and they're targeting Israel's decades of occupation in Palestinian territories. In a largely symbolic move, Spain, Norway, and Ireland said they would recognize an independent Palestinian state. Leaders of the countries say they hope it will push Israelis, Palestinians, and the international community toward a two-state solution. But Israel is still adamantly against this idea, saying it would be rewarding terrorism. So in response, the Israeli government ordered its ambassadors to return from those 3 countries. As for the White House, it reiterated what it's been saying for a while now, and that it also supports a two-state solution, but that it should only happen through negotiations with Israel, not recognition from outside countries. Now, speaking of the war, families of Israeli women soldiers who were taken hostage by Hamas are trying to pressure their government to reach a truce in order to secure the women's release. They made an extremely disturbing video public showing their loved ones being kidnapped by Hamas gunmen on October 7th. The Israeli government also highlighted this video, telling people to watch and not look away, saying it's reason to support Israel in wanting to defeat Hamas for good. The militant group responded as well, saying the video was manipulated and claiming no hostages have been mistreated. 124 people, mostly civilians, are still being held by Hamas now. Well, meanwhile, Gaza health authorities say more than 35,000 Palestinians have been killed since the war began, mostly civilians, and a humanitarian crisis is growing. But there could be some relief coming to the people of Gaza now. The United Nations says it was finally able to get food from the American-built pier in Gaza and distribute it to starving Palestinians yesterday. And U.S. officials say they're hoping a lot more aid will be able to start flowing soon. Well, this week marks 2 years since one of the deadliest school shootings in American history. And now family members of the children who were shot say they're after some justice. They reached a $2 million settlement with the city of Uvalde, Texas. The money will come from the city's insurance coverage. Uvalde also promised to overhaul the city's police force, create a permanent memorial to the children and teachers who died, and more. Now, you'll remember a teenage gunman killed 19 children and 2 teachers at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde on May 24th, 2022. Law enforcement officers killed the gunman in the classroom, but that only happened after they waited more than an hour to confront him, which was heavily criticized in the wake of the shooting. And this settlement now avoids a legal battle with the city of Uvalde. But the family's lawyers say they have filed a new lawsuit against the Texas Department of Public Safety. The suit also names the school's principal and chief of the Uvalde Public Schools Police Department. Separately, a grand jury is considering criminal charges against officers for their part in the police response. There are already some concerns this November's election could spark violence. And this week, former President Trump drew more attention to those fears when he claimed the Biden administration wanted to kill him. He pointed to the FBI search of his home nearly 2 years ago and said Biden authorized the use of deadly force. In a campaign email, Trump said, quote, "I nearly escaped death." And some of his allies in Congress went a step further, accusing Biden of planning to assassinate Trump. But the FBI clarified things. It says the language Trump is referencing is standard to include in all search warrants. It's just a reminder of the FBI's deadly force policy that's actually meant to limit the use of deadly force. And the same policy is summarized on the FBI's website. In its clarification, the FBI went on to say no one ordered any extra steps to be taken at the Trump property and that everything was done according to the norm. It's also worth noting that the former president was not at his home when the search happened, and the FBI reached out to the Secret Service beforehand. You'll remember evidence collected during that search led to Trump being charged with illegally holding on to classified documents and then keeping government officials from getting them back when they tried. Though former President Trump is pleading not guilty in that case, the judge has not yet set a trial date. A lockdown in Washington, D.C. yesterday left some D.C. Republicans shaken. 2 vials of blood were sent to the Republican National Committee headquarters just blocks away from the U.S. Capitol building. They were reportedly in a package addressed to former President Trump. The RNC went on lockdown as law enforcement shut down roads around the office. It's still not clear at this point who left the vials and why, but the investigation is still going on. And the RNC says, quote, "We remain unintimidated and undeterred in our efforts to elect President Trump to the White House." A second person now in the U.S. has been infected with bird flu. Just like the first confirmed case, this person is a farm worker who had regular exposure to dairy cows who were sick. The person has already recovered, and so far the CDC says it has not seen any signs of bird flu spreading from humans to other humans, which is good, since scientists have long thought once it does spread between humans, the virus is capable of causing a global health crisis. To be safe, the CDC is still doing genetic analysis to learn exactly how bird flu has been spreading and whether mutations could let it spread between people more easily. There are also vaccines in the works that are well matched to the bird flu, and they should be available within a couple of months just in case the virus becomes widespread. In the meantime, the CDC is recommending anyone in contact with dairy cattle wear protective equipment. Around the country, more than 50 herds in 9 states have been affected so far. Health officials say milk is still safe as long as it's pasteurized. All right, we have much more news for you still ahead, from the latest student loan cancellation to a major online retailer opening its first in-person store to the top-ranked city to live in and more. But first, thanks to our sponsor, Boll & Branch. If you're looking to upgrade your bedroom and your sleep, look no further than Boll & Branch. I love my bed. I love getting in at night, and it's in large part thanks to Boll & Branch. Literally on my bed right now is the Boll & Branch linen duvet set in the relaxing shade of mist, and their signature sheets in white, though I do also have another set in the soothing color of sky that I really love as well. Boll & Branch's best-selling signature sheets feel fabulous on night 1, but they actually get softer with each wash. And get this, Boll & Branch offers a 30-night worry-free guarantee, so you can wash, you can style, and sleep in their sheets for an entire month. And if you don't love them, you can just send them right back. And Boll & Branch does not just have sheets. Boll & Branch has the airiest blankets, most cloud-like duvets, fluffiest pillows, and so much more. I'm a lifelong fan, and I'm not the only one. They're loved by millions of sleepers. So sleep better with the softest, most breathable bedding from Boll & Branch. Get 15% off your order with the promo code NEWSWORTHY at bollandbranch.com. That's Boll and Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com with the promo code NEWSWORTHY. Exclusions apply. See site for details. Now back to the news. For the first time, daily marijuana use has become more common than daily drinking. A newly published analysis found that in 2022, about 18 million people reported using marijuana every day or nearly every day. And that's compared to about 15 million people who drink alcohol that often. Of course, that trend reflects changes in policy. Most states now allow either recreational or medical marijuana use, even though it's still illegal at the federal level. The study notes that, in general, there are still more drinkers in the U.S., but those who do use marijuana do so far more often than those who drink alcohol. Specifically, it says 40% of people who use cannabis at all are using it daily or near daily. More federal student loans are getting canceled. The Education Department announced it's forgiving another $7.7 billion in debt for another 160,000 borrowers. Most of that goes to Americans who qualified through adjustments to the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. And that helps teachers, firefighters, and other government and nonprofit workers. Others were enrolled in income-driven repayment plans, and the Biden administration says it just made administrative adjustments to the payments they owed. This means, all in all, the White House has now canceled about $167 billion in student loans for nearly 5 million borrowers. In other words, roughly 1 in 10 federal loan holders has had their debt forgiven. President Biden still says he wants to forgive debt for 6 times that many people, but the Education Department's next plan is apparently still being finalized. And it will be challenged, just like Biden's first plan for mass debt forgiveness that ultimately was blocked by the Supreme Court. When people ask questions in ChatGPT, they'll now be able to get news content from a big-name publisher. OpenAI announced a new deal with News Corp, which owns the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, the Daily Telegraph, MarketWatch, The Sun, and others. The deal is said to be worth more than $250 million over the next 5 years. And with that, OpenAI should be able to use news content on its products and to train AI models. This is just the latest in a string of licensing deals OpenAI has reached with major media companies like the Associated Press, Financial Times, and the owners of People and Politico. Other outlets have filed lawsuits against OpenAI instead, like the New York Times, Chicago Tribune, and The Intercept. They're accusing both OpenAI and Microsoft of copyright infringement by training AI models on their work. But OpenAI is fighting those accusations in court. A furniture and home furnishings giant that's known for being online is now opening an actual in-person store. Today is the grand opening of Wayfair's first namesake store. It looks somewhat like an IKEA in that it's a very large one-stop shop for all home items, and there's an on-site restaurant. And Wayfair's CEO says eventually he's hoping to open many more of these in-person stores all around the country. He says it just makes sense to expand into the brick-and-mortar business since people want to see if the furniture is actually comfortable. Or they might want to discuss financing or get design help, which can be more effective in person. CNBC also points out that the e-commerce landscape has changed in recent years. For example, privacy changes on Meta and Apple have made it tougher for marketers to target customers with ad campaigns. Plus, companies are facing more competition from Chinese upstarts like Shein and Temu. Wayfair is just the latest direct-to-consumer brand that's opened in-person stores recently. Others include Warby Parker, Casper, Glossier, Everlane, and so on. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. But first, let's take a minute to talk about our sponsor. Trade Coffee believes anyone can make great coffee at home. All you need is access to the best beans, roasted to order and curated for your personal taste, which is exactly what they provide thanks to their in-house team of coffee experts, 50-plus small batch specialty coffee partners, and 450-plus rotating roasts. From dark roasts to decafs, espressos to cold brew and iced coffee, you can discover the best coffee suited to your taste with Trade Coffee. I personally get bored easily, so I really wanted to try some unique, more adventurous types of coffee, specifically for my new espresso machine after I moved. And Trade Coffee really delivered in more ways than one, with super high quality, great tasting blends that show up right to my door. So it is convenient, and I love trying something new with every bag. And while I definitely think you will love Trade Coffee yourself, this is also a great option as a gift for your loved ones. We've got graduations, Father's Day, summer birthdays. Those are all coming up, and you really can't go wrong with better, exciting coffee. Give Trade a try for a month and see how you can make better coffee at home. Right now, they're offering 30% off your first month of coffee when you visit drinktrade.com/newsworthy. That's drinktrade.com/newsworthy for 30% off a month of coffee. drinktrade.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Thing to Know Thursday. So if you're looking to move to a new city, you might want to consider Naples, Florida. U.S. News & World Report just ranked it as the best place to live in the U.S. The ranking has a lot to do with the beachfront city's job prospects and overall quality of life. It has an ultra-low unemployment rate of just 2.9% as compared to the overall U.S. rate of 3.9%. Plus, salaries are relatively high and housing costs are relatively low. And as one person on the neighborhood site Niche put it, Naples is a great place to live if you love the beach and good food. As far as the rest of the rankings go, Boise, Idaho landed at number 2 on the list. Colorado Springs, Colorado ranked 3rd. On the opposite side of the list were major cities like New York City and Los Angeles. They didn't rank well in the value category because of the high costs of living. All right, thank you so much for listening today and making us part of your daily routine. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.